go ahead and call the meeting to order. Okay, there's just a couple of things that we need to work on. So under old business, that actually needs to be moved to new business. We need to move the open house for this evening, because that was never discussed at a board meeting prior to.
But everybody knows about it, so.
Yeah, I know, but we discussed it at the decorating thing, and that was one of the big things that we got in trouble for, that we would be doing business outside the board meeting, and I don't wanna be even accused of that.
Is that from 4 to 5:30?
4 to 6:30.
4 to 6:30? Cool.
Yeah, so the bottom line, we just need to move it to new business. That being said, and then there was a couple other things that about the sorry, I guess. So can we go up? Did everybody get a chance to read the past board minutes?
Yeah.
Is she okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I should have said it.
I know.
I just
So
know
you'll have one more bruise, and then somebody will ask, "How did you get that?"
Did it before you were skiing instead of after.
Then you just say, my husband said he was sorry.
Oh, boy.
So did everybody get a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Is there any corrections?
I do have one point, well, probably, I don't know if anybody did, but just on the club survey questionnaire,
Yes.
GI, you mentioned that, suggested creating a selection process, and Karen, created, but I think they should mention, because I had some comments that I was concerned about a selection process, and I think that should be mentioned.
And I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah, I was saying that I was worried that because it's supplied by tax dollars,
Right.
we can't, discriminate, and we have to be very careful, but that wasn't mentioned here, and I kind of think that should be.
So, just your statement that,
You could say,
we can't just.
Anne suggested that we be very cautious because this is a tax-supported function, and, we can't discriminate against anybody. But really, though, I mean, I didn't say this then, but just to throw it in now, the only criteria we really should have is are they residents of Boulder County.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that's a matter that's gonna be addressed during the
Yeah.
meeting.
But I mean, it
to
was
create
discussed, so we
criteria.
should mention it.
Well,
in the
Boulder
minutes.
County or
Talking.
Longmont.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So
part
that'll
of
be discussed later, we didn't discuss that.
Yeah.
They aren't,
So I don't think.
aren't typically all residents of Longmont.
The club should be based, but, I mean, that's a new discussion, but my
Yeah.
discussion was
That because it's tax dollars, that we need to be
Careful.
mindful not to discriminate.
against anyone, including men.
Yes,
So
that's all I know.
I just think that should be mentioned in here.
But you did bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll include that.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we'll do that correction. Are there any other corrections or concerns with the minutes?
On number 1, call to order, instead of recreation managers, I really appreciate the
Motion.
no wait, probably just recreation staff would be okay. Under,
Since recreation manager sued out and Ben.
I could say manager
You-
and staff.
You've been referred to that way in previous minutes,
well,
but okay,
I-
I'll just,
Just staff.
just recreation.
Staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd like the pay increase if you're gonna be listed that, It'd help for the holidays.
Yeah. It's really wishful thinking, I hope you put it out to you personally.
Okay. So any other corrections? Okay,
I made one more little correction, and that's only in our mission statement. I had the word community capitalized, but it's a lowercase, so
okay.
I'll make that little, yes, okay, it's just Scrivener's error.
Okay, so can I get a motion with the corrections made? To accept the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes as corrected.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. It's been moved, seconded, and voted upon. Let's move forward.
There she is.
Yes.
Yes.
I love your best.
Yeah, beautiful.
Train going back and forth.
Oh, you got that.
That's what we were just saying.
Because I saw the hands coming down just as I was in the rearview mirror.
Like,
In the rearview mirror is okay.
and then had a work guy and went back and forth. It's like, oh, probably on a text.
I was able to cut down Martin and go around.
There's Phil.
Okay, so we just went over the minutes.
Oh, it's perfect, honey, because that's Phil.
So, I guess we could take a break while Phil gets up the stairs and Kathy is downstairs to. Did you see the little barista bar we got set up over there with the special serves and everything? Isn't it nice?
Yes, very nice.
So everything but the steamer and we're just hunky dory. Hunky dory and then some.
Yes, there are 3 evaluations and
That's super fun. We excited about the film.
About the piece analysis of the
Yeah,
report.
sure. Did you guys get a chance to look at the report? Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
We're so excited about this, you have no idea. This is just.
I was wondering if I was walking into a trap or something.
Yeah, right.
No, we are jazzed. This is so great.
And boy, these gone.
And your timing couldn't have been better. You're right there.
Next item.
So if you have this good of luck the rest of the day, you're set.
Yeah.
We got a chair right over here.
Thanks.
He's going to be. He's going to be anyway.
So let me introduce myself. I'm Marie McCoy. I'm the chair of the board. And the rest of the, you know Karen.
Karen Lee.
Karen Reed. And Janet.
Hi.
And Ann.
How's it going?
And Bonnie's over here. And then Sue Allen is part of the city staff.
And I'm Kathy, you remember me.
Yep, sure do. I also have it on a jump drive if that doesn't connect to the Linux-based system, so it should theoretically not be problematic. But
As long as it's right
We'll
behind
find out, we'll find out.
you. It just takes a minute to work.
Interesting. The paint analysis.
Yeah. La, 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 la.
Oh, I don't think so. Or do you want me to be here at the head? So I don't have any sort of formal presentation. I just thought I would show up and just talk about the process and answer questions. And
That's
if
perfect.
anybody has any.
We're very excited about it. We can't wait to see what you got.
Okay.
Your report was very interesting.
Yeah.
Really well put together.
Okay. I always wonder, like, this is how I understand things. If this doesn't make sense to everybody else that's reading it, or is it just a bunch of like, what are they talking about?
The screen may not be very helpful.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it's not. Yes, I can see the bottom. It's,
Oh yeah.
Did you turn the lights out?
In the,
That help?
screen?
no, it's, I had it all set, you saw it a minute ago.
Yeah.
It's almost like
This
it
is how
isn't
always
bright
works.
enough.
Oh, well, your paper's right there.
Here, that's not the problem.
No.
Well, once
I
you-
can always turn the
well,
screen
once I
around
see-
too if you want to just look at it.
well, Once you
on
started, it might be okay. I see the.
oh, yeah, that's so
Yeah,
strange.
it's
That's
just
the bottom
not-
of the screen.
It's just not bright enough. Is there something showing right now?
And maybe there's nothing
It's,
there.
all it's picking up is the,
The bottom.
Bottom area.
for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Toolbar at the bottom of the screen.
That's
Well, I can start chatting. Basically, all I brought here for the laptop was like the images of the samples themselves, so you can see them in larger detail. I'm not sure how super helpful that is, but I also brought all the samples themselves. Just talk about the process. So I'll just go into the process a little bit. So you guys contacted me. I looked at the house, looked at the different sections of history that the construction history had, and then sort of picked out different elements that I thought would be useful for trying to figure out what the polychromatic scheme would have been if there is different, periods of.
Can you reboot it?
Sure.
Sometimes when it's on, when you plug it in, it
But
doesn't.
it should show up somehow.
There you go. That's really weird. It looks like it's like it's got multiple. Do you normally have more than one screen?
Honestly, this is a spare laptop that I just want to have.
The unknown.
Oh boy.
Technology, isn't it wonderful?
Well, yeah.
Tell it.
So let's see if there's a way to like just share the screen.
My kids go to law.
Well, it's sharing a screen. It's just not seeing the right screen.
Yeah.
It's just like you've got multiple screens.
Right,
It's actually.
and if you don't use it and do it in the way
Yeah,
to
you
do
can
it,
just
it doesn't
remove
stick.
it.
Yeah, right.
My husband decided the whole house, we have a smart house, but he decided that Alexa needed to turn on the TV, which kept turning on the tuner and the television and the Roku thing, and so he named it theater. He spent 2 weeks yelling.
Yeah.
Just yelling.
I can just push a button and my TV comes on.
My remote had an object. She was like, oh, no, just
Here
work.
goes.
2 weeks, he's got it, it worked.
But our neighbor has it so his phone will turn his shower on in the morning.
Oh, yes.
Is yours like that?
Oh, no, don't even suggest it, whatever you do.
All right, ladies.
Has everybody had a chance to look over the report?
I have not looked at it.
Okay.
Everybody's had a link to it for quite some time.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
So I go through the outside, and these pages here where I've got like the little numbers picked out, like saying these are the different elements I'm trying to look for. And then I get a little more from you guys as to go ahead with the process. And I come out and I try to take as small of a sample as possible because I'm looking at it under a microscope. I don't need to have like a huge chunk of wood, so about the size of like a small fingernail. And get it all the way down to the substrate. So that means I am digging into the wood a little bit so that you know that you've got it all the way to the basest layers. It works best, obviously, when there's not been replacement pieces, which I think we found some pieces of the trim on the gingerbread, barge board is different terms for it, that have been replaced over the years, or at least stripped down from bare. So you see that in the report that there's only about 3 layers of paint. That's quite an original paint layer. And then I cast it in a colorless resin, which is something a little different that I do. But I take the little paint sample and stick it in there, and then I use a series of grinding pads, and I grind it down to about 6,000 grit. So this is 41, which is one that has been passed around.
This is so.
So I try to polish the edge as much as possible so you can really see a smooth edge without like a really gritty appearance to it. So when the light hits it, it's actually like what you'd be looking at if you're looking at the side of it. And then I use 6500K lights on my microscope, so it's supposed to be daylight replicating, to kind of get like the most exact color match as possible. Then the fun part is this book, which is the Munsell system, which is how I was taught in grad school. And it's basically a color system that has been established for well over 100 years, and the colors are guaranteed to look the exact same here as they did 100 years ago.
Wow.
Which is why when I specify this, theoretically in 100 years, if somebody says like it's a 5R54, it's going to look exactly like that no matter what. So this book is basically just tons and tons of paint chips arranged in a way where it goes from red to yellow with red, to yellow with blue, green goes into more of a blue. And so you're just spending time flipping through the pages trying to find out one paint chip that exactly matches it under the microscope. So it's very hands-on way of matching paint colors. And I'll go through that with it zoomed in on the layers and just kind of go down through it layer by layer. Oh, that's fun. I don't know what that's all about.
We got an image anyway.
Yeah. Dying computer.
We all have those.
What did you study in college to learn this?
Undergraduate was anthropology, which is such a useful career for finding a job. And then master's degree in historic restoration from the University of Vermont in 2005. And so there was a class on this, and then it's basically become like, you take that class and you just keep doing it, and eventually you get better at it. There's not a lot of really great classes out there. Like if you want to go out and say, like, I'd like to learn how to do paint analysis, it's either a full-on master's program or art conservation. You'll see a lot of people doing stuff like this with the fine arts. But obviously that's even more detailed. They're using like scanning electron microscopes and X-ray fluorescence and stuff like that. Since we're just worried about paint colors here, there's no need to charge like thousands of dollars a sample.
Which we appreciate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There are folks that do that, but again, if you're just looking for the colors, and if it has lead paint or not, I can do that pretty easily. And then there's like a whole, like I say, another level of education if you want to get to,
Okay.
like, you know, what exact element was used to create this color? Was it a, you know, something that was brought from a certain part of the country, if that sort of thing? And it's great, but it's like, to what extent do you really want to know that?
How in depth do you really want to go?
Yeah.
As far as the fingers.
Right. And then I think we saw, I had to reread my report real quick because it's been a little bit of time, but there was that early period. The house was built in 1892, and you guys can certainly correct me because you guys have been history.
1892.
Yeah.
I thought you said 1982.
Oh.
It sounded like from here.
The front section of the house there, that was not this block here, but that was just that section up there. And it looks like they had a bit more, of course, I think printed out in black and white, but a bit more of a brownish color. It seems like I actually pulled something up now. For whatever reason, it's only mirroring this way. It's not showing me.
No, you were perfect.
If you pull up what's on your flash drive onto your screen, it'll show up there.
Yeah, my screen shows nothing here. It's a blank blue screen. And this is this. I'm not sure exactly how to put this screen size.
I can't.
Sure.
Yeah, see, I don't know what's going on with your screens.
So there was the base couple layers. I think we saw in a few of the samples that it was just a couple layers of brown, and it was mostly a monochromatic scheme at that time. And then there was like a black layer, which I'm presuming was probably a primer because it was very thin. And then you start seeing the colors that were, you know, from the later on years. It's more of like a orange and off orange, brown and off orange, something like that.
Yeah.
So did those colors seem like they made any sense to you guys, or was that weird?
This was interesting,
Yeah.
because given where we're at today, so I think a curious thing would be kind of from that time period of the addition in 1906. I think it'd be interesting to know what kind of coloring it was in that year,
Right.
in that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Because
the front porch was
that's
built.
really kind of the focus to get back to, and in discussions with Anne McLeod, the objective for the grant was to bring the paint color back to a significant period of time. And that significant period of time was when the Callahans did this massive addition to the home. So I think that is something that would be really interesting to show everyone what color was
That
in
was-
that time range.
Because it's windows, so I don't know what to do.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I have no idea.
It's because it's
It's looking for another longer.
because of how the grant's written and because of what we're doing with the windows and everything else, we're trying to keep it at a certain time period, and I think that's kind of where we're at. So it sounds to me with the brown, it's what they could get, and that's what they used. And again, that was before the addition and everything was put on, and that was the original owners. So.
But they gave it to us in 1938, so really we could look at any of the colors between 1906 and 1938, and they were all picked out by the Callahans, you know, so any one of those, if we like one better. Then
Original.
yeah, they're still, I mean, the Callahans put them on there, so they had some say in it. It's not like the city came in and painted it that color. So-
But the focus was to go to a significant period of time, and that was something that McLeod was very specific about.
But it could be 1938.
Yeah, that's
We
a
picked 1906.
And plus, the Callahans may not have liked that color, that's why they repainted it.
Yeah.
It's their house.
It was their house.
Yeah.
When they did the addition, of course, then they uniformed everything. And I think that is a significant period of time that we're looking to.
Well, we could leave it open for
We
stuff.
certainly can leave it
Yeah.
open, but I think the
that's
objective
smart
was.
thing.
Because I think we need to decide if we like the color.
Right.
Well, and if it will wear well. If it truly is a really dark color, that may not be a good choice in the interest of not painting it every 2 years or 4 years.
And in
Like,
that,
we need to think about that, please. a
Yeah.
little bit.
and in that circumstance, I think it would be helpful to know options of colors through the years. And then we can present them to Anne and say, what do you suggest? Because I really want to do the right thing by History Colorado and what would be acceptable to them. So.
And the recommendations, I think we take it all in. I agree, we don't limit ourselves, but I also know paint is so much better than it used to be. And even if we go with a dark color, I have a dark forest green that's lasted forever on my underuse. It just depends on where it is and what type of paint we're using. So again, I think it's open for discussion, and we just keep it as open as possible. And then
We're certainly not gonna need to make a choice anytime
Not
soon,
today.
because they're not gonna paint till it's warm enough to paint.
What?
Yeah, it has to be at least 50 degrees or.
I want them out there painting in the freezing cold, having it bubble because it's frozen.
So I was just picking these guys out. So I think the front porch up there, its final form is the 1904, 1906. Okay. Now that one, there was a white base layer, which is pretty common for a primer. It wasn't super thick. And then you had like this orange and brown sort of color scheme, which is what the rest of the house was basically at that time. So it looked like that was like all part of the same color scheme at 1900. This is the 1906, at least at that point, from 1890, 1992. This is the oldest color scheme, which is just like this. That's like that lightish brown.
This is kind of the original.
Yeah, I didn't see like a lot of variation in colors, so I think that was like all the trim was all this sort of brownish color.
That's
And
not
they
very
went to this
imaginative, I have to say.
like base, and this would be like the brighter color is the highlights essentially.
Yeah.
So then you got that scheme going on, basically for everything else.
So the body and then like trim.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So body is the lighter color, trim is the dark.
I also think we have to take into mind, how easy it was to get paint. What kind of paint colors could you get
Right.
in this area at the time?
And they were using the lines and stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I think that's a trim.
To me, it's just
Stay
so
the same.
water fan comparison.
This is history.
It is interesting.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
I wish I had my
Yeah, little mouse
with
report when they were
doing
Yeah.
that stuff.
No kidding.
They had to check on color.
Yeah.
That's
the
the
great.
one to
Yeah. You guys all familiar with the Taper Opera House up in Leadville?
Yes.
So I did an exterior analysis there too, and the Tapers owned it only for a short period of time, maybe 4 or 5 years, and then sold it to someone else. And what we found there, pretty similar to the colors you got here, is that the base layers were all very like leathery browny colors, which is really surprising because it's all been red and green for so long.
Right.
And the prevailing idea at the time was that the Tabers were trying to make Leadville a more like sophisticated, high-end place. It was more of like a mining town, and so the browner colors were supposed to simulate stone to make it look like it was this monumental building that was supposed to be it's an opera house. So you're supposed to go there for culture and enlightenment, and that lasted for about 5 years. And like red and green.
Yes,
It's gonna be
bright
right here.
colors, anything but.
Yeah. So that leads to like the interesting philosophical debate. Do you go back to what the original colors were, even though they were only there for 5 years, or do you go for what people have known to the over 100 years, which is like the red and green look?
Right.
And I believe they're going for the red and green look, because I
Okay.
recall last time I looked.
Yeah, I don't think they haven't changed.
Yeah, so these aren't terribly unfamiliar colors to me in terms of like the scheme for the time. They might have been trying to be like, this is the refined house, this is no garish.
Right, this is not,
Yeah, it's got
right.
some details that we all like because that was popular at the time, but it's a bit more muted because we're a very fancy family.
They're trying to be sophisticated.
Want to turn it off again?
Sure.
And I think that's the case. They're trying to go for sophisticated.
I just don't want to run your
I mean,
flash
everything
drive.
I get it.
we researched about them and it's all about being modern and sophisticated and
You almost everything like this.
Yeah,
the it
Only the
family.
best.
only the
The
best.
it family, There it goes.
Especially in the 1906, well, 1897 period. That was coming towards the end of the Queen Anne romantic sort of architectural style. So it might have been like, wow, we want to distinguish ourselves from some of the other stuff that's been going on for the last 20, 30 years.
So it wasn't real gingerbready, like,
Right.
the early Victorian.
Not a lot of scroll work, more
Right.
just the applied
It's more Romanesque.
chevrons or just the bars and
Yeah, they didn't have the gold walls like Molly Brown House, I guess, did back in.
Right.
They had
Yeah.
gold on the walls.
I love it.
Red chalk.
If you think about it, it might have also, with it being more muted colors, they have the windows and the decoration of the windows
That's true.
in the accents.
So beautiful leaded windows.
Yeah.
So I assume you guys are trying to do the color scheme of like, when the house was in its final form, from that point forward, it would be like 1906.
Yeah, at least 1906, yeah.
Yeah, the significant period of time, which we've identified as the 1906 time range because of the fact that that's when the Callahans did this addition to the house. So,
The
and that's when
interior
everything
was-
would have become very uniform. And, yeah.
On the
and it's-
exterior,
yes.
interior to the better 2 years or so.
Yes.
Interior finishes its own like all.
You know, that's a
changes
whole.
Every 10 years or so, you got like a whole new scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah, this used to be 2 rooms here.
You can see where it was.
This is
Yeah.
the original house, and this is the new part. There was this section here.
It was, you know, the son's bedroom, correct, over here?
Correct. Yeah. And Allison's.
It's good meeting.
Yes. Yeah, the wall was removed shortly after it was gifted in 1938 so that they could have a larger meeting room for.
And then there's parquet with flooring underneath.
Yes.
Nice.
Borders. There was a hallway here.
Yeah, because there's a door on it.
And there's
I'm
a,
still thinking.
Kathy has pictures
I've
underneath.
seen the floor
carpet
underneath there, yeah.
flooring.
Which would make sense because then this would
Yeah,
be the
window.
hall.
Yeah. So there's 2 strips of parquet on either side of that door.
Yeah. And there's not this wall.
Yeah.
Nice.
So they took out, there must have been like, they could have had 2 of these
Yeah.
supporting, well, maybe this wasn't supporting.
This one
This
is.
was,
I think that's
this
the
was the
same
back wall.
That's a weight bearing wall.
This is the, that
This
was
is the original weight bearing wall of the back.
the back,
Yeah.
the back of the house.
And so
And then
this would have
what
just been
was
a false wall of some kind,
Yeah.
just to create that.
Yeah.
But that makes perfect sense, that with, if you consider lack of lighting and having that, there it is, and south facing, that would be fit right along.
Yeah.
Actually, really pretty light into that wall.
Yeah.
I like to for technical problems.
Yeah.
It's restarting again.
Being able to see that. Those next step, that next.
And stuff, though, was real interesting, so it was very earth tones for a long time, and then those candy colors, you know, and then the strong purples and all the real deep things that
Well, we had one conversation, the recording's not gonna pick up anything, it was just for your conversations.
yeah, but those were most.
Finding it, I mean, because you're on the screen, you can move around. You have to watch the whole thing. Right, exactly, but yeah,
Later ones.
I think that when we.
That was a pretty good discussion. This one.
Sure. You can see there.
Five.
I didn't see like they went from this.
Yeah.
So I'll pull up that green to show it. It's a really interesting, it happens all the time, we go from red to green, green to red. And I've seen so many different paint samples, especially from this area. That green seems to look all the time. I'm not sure like what's-
I know, but that's why I found it out, I saw this and I told everyone, I said, it looks like, that Christmas ribbon series.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, but the red and green ones, but yes, it's
Also.
That makes it significant, yes, so it's just like stuff.
That's right. Because senior flash drive.
I think, I know our house, I was, if our house became famous, I wouldn't want it to go to the way it was.
Right, oh, God, so.
I like how she does it.
Yeah, I think it's, well, it's like Kathy said, what works, and what we
Yeah, so, yeah.
I've got them down in Rollins.
So, you're not gonna be here.
So I went from.
Yeah.
Or what?
That's
Oh.
Come over and have some coffee.
Okie dokie.
Right. From this color to this color.
All right, so for the body,
Connie,
This,
could you tell everybody what you were just telling Maureen about the Queen and Victorian?
Oh,
so the balcony at the wall house, like this
Some
little
of that
balcony over here.
Victorian
The,
stuff
The
was
wood shingles on the wall, so they went from
in
like
very
this color
muted
to
tones
this
and
greenish
earth
color.
tones, like this terracotta
And-
stone. And then they would trim it out similarly in the same family, so that was
That
kind of
makes
like, it was
sense.
surprising, but it's not surprising because it goes with that whole thing. And, you know, the wood, clapboard kind of gingerbread houses, you know, with the real filigree
Right.
gingerbread stuff, they were the ones that went into those bright purples and pinks and, you know, the
Right.
bright colors. And, maybe they look like little toy houses, I guess.
Gingerbread,
Yeah, the gingerbread.
That's the shingles, yeah.
But,
The shingles on this little.
a stone
scallop.
house or a brick house was a little bit more sophisticated.
so what they did from, you know, the original to the 1906 to kind of the next, significant color
Generation.
Right.
it went to this green.
Oh, that's
So going from that kind of a.
So which is the body and which is the trim?
So these are the shingles on this little balcony over here, the corner of the L.
Oh, okay.
So here's the wood of the shingles here, so you can see all the cells of the wood.
Sure.
And you had a couple of years maybe of that orange, then a couple of years of that light green, and white the rest of the time. And 1978 is right around here somewhere. That's about the best I could do in terms of like what time frame it happened in, because if it tests positive for lead, lead was outlawed in 1978 for use in paint, so it's test positive theoretically. It's 1978.
Could you pass the other color?
The original, yes, for
No,
the
no,
19,
the
the original,
green.
The one that goes with the green.
it doesn't go with the green. That's the significant color change. This is original to the house. This is 1906,
Okay, and that's the shingle.
and that's, and the next significant color change. These are shingle also. That's the next significant color change, what it went from to.
So Phil, but there wasn't a different trim color?
Let's see, the trim color, this would be on the shingles over here, so the trim was around the shingles.
Good morning, Phil.
Morning, Ben.
The lower trim below shingles, so here would be 15. We had lights at the bottom, so
This red was wonderful, by the way.
orange and green.
It was
So it looks
so
like they
much
kind
fun.
of followed the same
Yeah,
path.
we were on it.
Ben loves that grade.
It was so much fun.
Shannon was teasing about getting up into the
5G
little
too.
cleaning thing. And I said, I'll never get out. And then poor Tim Waters, he got up there. And the kids were really nervous about getting that. And
So
he
the
got
trim
out,
below
he kind
on
of
the
got
L, the L balcony over here, that's the shingle color you got there. This is the trim below the shingles.
Oh.
So they went with
It had to look me
dark
up.
green and light green to kind of differentiate.
So the body of the house was the lighter green and the trim was the darker green?
The body of the shingles.
I'm not sure what you're referring to as
The
a
shingles on the outside, this balcony here.
Okay,
This
just
little balcony,
the
just the
scalloped,
scallop pieces,
right.
right.
They were the lighter green.
And so that and this and.
Right, so it looks like they went from like a light orange to a brighter orange originally in 1906 or so. And they went from like a light green as the body and the darker green as the highlight.
Okay, that was what I was trying to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a way to tell the age or like the, you know?
See, that's the trick. If it tests positive for lead, I know it's 1978 or before, but that's about it.
Oh, okay, so you can't really, you can just tell by the
Yeah.
layers.
Right. And they didn't always use lead, so sometimes in the burial will
Right.
test clean and it's like, oh, well,
That's the liberal time.
right.
But does the condition of the paint kind of show?
And that's
how it's
contrast with
Yeah, if it's super exposed, it might not even be there, but if it's really heavily alligator, then I know it's gonna be a lot of, it's gonna be body paints that are really heavily alligator as well. So it's a little bit more difficult. That's when things like the scanning electron microscopy can come in and give you a better idea of like exactly what elements were used to create this, and a better idea of
well, they didn't use linseed oil at this point forward, so we do.
So did you find 4 layers of color, or how many?
So this should be on the shingles, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Oh.
So at least 20.
Wow.
Because you have to paint
I
every
love
so
those.
many years.
They're beautiful.
But anyway, they don't. Buff it down.
They can scrape it to
That's
be
nice.
happy.
They would hardly ever clean
It
it
sure
off,
would.
yeah, so you can see like the layers of dirt, essentially.
No, they just go over the top of
They
it.
just go over the top of the dirt, yeah.
They didn't have power washers or what?
In theory, you're supposed to clean everything off and get it ready for paint, but typically it's just soft stuff.
Oh, boy. I remember you wanted it.
Would you like those pushed a little closer to you?
I just wanna take a picture so I can remember what we talked about.
Probably reach better than this.
Sorry for my butt in your face.
Here, let's put it on the white so you can get a really.
Yeah.
It's
It's white, and then
If
you
you're
have-
gonna do it, do it.
Thank you.
But I don't want you to try to lay on the table and get
So you can order drawdowns from the Munsell company, which is basically just a 8.5 by 11 sheet of that one color. It's like $30 or $40 per sheet. But it's, it's one of those like guaranteed shelf stable images, so if you want to, you can walk around the sheet.
They change, every time they load new software, my camera changes.
So I've heard that
I
the
know it.
customer service has been difficult lately.
Yeah, it's
It's
been
hard
nuts.
to get
3
the.
times in
So that's why I
5 months.
provide the, like, here's the closest available commercial match paint, if you want, just go get a good drawing. Doesn't if you want it to be like 100% exact with the, basically contact me and I can bring that paint chip to you, and you can take it to your paint store.
Thank you,
and
sorry.
get a custom match
Oh, you're
for that,
good.
but This looks about $2,500, so it's not the cheapest thing in the world.
That's-
Yeah, I thought so too.
Investment
Around $2,500.
investment in your expertise, right?
I pulled up this one, so this is the trim on this property over here, below the shingles. So we had, the orangey color that we talked about, that's the original. Then they had a bright red at some point.
Okay.
And they had the green that we were just talking about, and they had the green scheme going on. And then they had like a pinky color and a less pinky color, then orange, and then dark brown. And so you can see they really went through a lot of fluctuations here, but I can't really tell you like 100% this color layer matches up with this other color layer from a different sample. You know, you can count layers, but if they painted one thing and they didn't paint the other thing, then all of a sudden the counts are off.
I like that chip display. It's a lot easier to see than the sideways one.
Yeah.
Is that cut at an angle, is that how?
Right, so here, it's like if you look at the flat paint like this, it's like you put it sideways and chopped it in half. So
Right.
it'll be
Yeah.
side angles.
So
So here's the cells of the wood, and this is the first layer of paint as it soaks into the wood.
out of pure curiosity, it's hard, what would the red be? Could you show us a chip?
Sure.
The red that looks pink?
Which red?
No,
They
it's
painted
before the
literally
green
painted it bright
The
red.
little
green.
red,
The
the
green.
green.
I painted
That
it
bright
bright
red.
red, like I was painted for Christmas or something.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing that really thick layer that looks pink.
That's all
There
pink.
is a little.
Those are all
bitty
pink.
red one in there.
Other than green.
Yeah, I see it, it's barely under.
Yeah, it's just a very, yes.
Maybe they put that on and said, oh no.
That's exactly it, it's like, what were we thinking?
Yeah.
I painted the whole interior of my first house that we built the wrong color and walked into my house and went. Yeah, and then we repainted it.
It's pretty.
No, the good news is you can use
It
it
was
as a
eggshell.
See,
So it might be, this interpretation of my eyes, it might be that any layer survived better when
from
the,
outside.
you know, had more time in the sun.
We
So
put green.
So it's
on
more
it.
rust. It's not
That would be
red.
exposure.
It's more rust, it's not red.
theoretically, since we're looking at the
Can
side,
you pass
the
it around?
exposed layer would be on the top, and it shouldn't really affect my.
So it's
too
another
much. But, you know,
another
sometimes the
shade of rust.
Hues are a little bit off. and If they're being custom blended, which they probably shouldn't be, but it's that time of year.
Yeah, that kind
They
of.
should be
There's
out
red
of
up there.
So since the green is thicker,
Yeah.
I'm assuming they kept the green and put more layers on.
Well, that's far more rust than I expected.
Because it was so thin, it's probably just one time. But the green is pretty thick, it might be
Not really close.
So it's a
We could add like
little.
this.
Yeah, it's true. Rust is very true.
Can I ask you a question on since the green layer is so much thicker than the red that's directly under it, would that indicate that the green might have been there and they liked it, so they painted it again? Is that why it's thicker?
That could be. It could be the person who did the red layer just gave it one coat and they called it good. And it could be they did a proper job on the green. It could also mean that they went back and did it a couple times. Sometimes you can see a dirt layer. It's like I said, they typically don't clean the paint as well as they should. So sometimes you can see a little layer in there. I can try to pull it back up again, but on my microscope, so you can see it. The thicker the layer usually means more than one coat. Except for something like this, where you can tell it was just kind of slopped on there heavily.
Right.
Or that, there's a drip and it's settled there. This is a very, very tiny little sections of paint, but that one little drip could be quite large on the screen.
That's really cool.
It is, so interesting.
The acrylic makes it a lot easier. Like when I was taught in grad school, they used to say, like melt some wax and set your sample in there and try to use a razor blade to scrape it relatively across the edge to see if you can get any of those. Like, you can't really see too well, and especially on a microscope. Your depth of field is very precise. It has to be going up and down all the time to see if you can see all the different layers. With this, I just kind of grind it flat, polish it down to about 6,000 grit, and then
Nice.
pretty clean. But you can still see little ridges here on the microscope, but that's probably 250 magnification. So
And that's the dark green, right?
the darkest green we've got.
Yeah.
The dark one.
Yeah. What does the lighter green look like in the samples?
Green is from all the way up here.
For the one that went.
No,
with
the
dark
one
green.
that you thought went with the dark green.
Otherwise, that it would have complemented.
Do that right, isn't it? Yeah, so it's these two greens, I believe.
I just wanted to see the chip for the other color of green.
7.2
Mint.
This is the one. This is the lighter green that's shown up around the house during that time period. So it would be those two greens.
Do you have the chip? Do you have the chip though? Can you show us the picture?
The picture of it, that she's
Oh,
like,
You have the image.
For which particular sample? This.
For the lighter green.
Something that would.
for chip, is there a paint chip in it?
Something,
Sure.
If you had any.
Let me pull up my team. Should have that.
Better.
Sorry, I wasn't understanding the question.
That's okay.
Also the teeny tiny, I figured it was a mistake.
Yeah, that's like, oh,
Yeah.
So there's the lighter green right above the orange.
Oh, okay,
Cool.
yeah, there it is.
But, as you can tell, not a huge amount of time was spent on these reds and greens. The majority of time was whites. And by the way, some of these yellows, most of the binders back in the day were linseed oil. And over time, linseed oil yellows, even if it's not exposed to the sun.
Yeah.
So these might have been a little bit brighter, but they weren't painting everything off white. It might have been brighter white, it's just simply aged to yellow over time.
Yeah.
It would be nice to know, like from 1906, like to make it 4 years, 5 years. Usually, cycle for paint is about every 5 years. So you can probably say 1911 or so. But is there anything major happening with the family?
We have no idea.
yeah, unfortunately, we don't have.
That's when they were starting to get their vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 1902, right? His first run.
With
Think
about
of the time what was going on in history.
Well, he used to turn around.
There was a lot of stuff
Pre-World War One.
I was just going to say that you saw more,
Pandemic.
well,
Spanish.
arts and crafts was coming out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything that's kind of going to make them feel like they need to pull back the colors of this house to go more like white, just to be more in style. So it might be some return to the brighter color, brighter whites, just to kind of fit in a little bit more.
After 1905.
That's what in the teens, probably some shoes.
So most of these
Pre
letters
or
were all
post
from
lead.
the Callahan purchase that
Were
we.
these
They're,
to
um,
present?
To the very
They
present
were-
time.
But I mean, I was wondering if.
They were lead-based because of-
Most of the colors.
So the
that
green-
were
That's
weighed out.
this is
Yeah,
1970.
that's what I thought.
Um,
Yeah, so again.
Usually these first, especially the more yellow ones, would be striking positive for lead. I use sodium sulfide and I put that on the chip, and if it hits lead, it turns out that layer black. So it happens pretty rapidly too. So
If you look at the report, by layer, it said whether or not it was lead paint or not.
right.
Just for purposes of doing this. So So it isn't, when was it the earliest?
The latest could be 1970, well, it depends, like 1978 is when it was outlawed, but a lot of people want to go out and stockpile it because they like oil-based paint, so it could have been used for many years in the future, for as long as the paint's good for it. So,
It's hard.
circa
Yeah.
1978.
What was the
Would
purpose
be the
of all
last.
that? That they would like it
I think it just needed spread and things.
So that wouldn't, yeah.
They put it in gasoline.
Just trying to get a constant time frame.
Or let it gas.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. I mean, maybe the first layer is basically the easiest to kind of say, like, you know, it seems like it's actually historic. And 1978 and everything else in between is kind of like somewhere between, you know, creation and 1978.
Right.
Maybe if the house was turned over from the Callahan family?
1938. For the purposes of the recording, can we ask one question at a time and get an answer instead of having sidebar conversations, because the recording is just gonna be all this babble. So, did you have another question, Karen?
Is there any, I think this answers it because of all the kind of yellow and white, but is there any other significant color after the greens?
I think the most significant color schemes are going to be the orangey brownie color scheme and then the green color scheme. I'm just going to flip through real quick here, but there's whites, but I mean, honestly, whites can be just about anything. I'm seeing lots of orangey brownie and greens as the initial colors. Yeah.
And Connie, you said that the brown, orangey, green, the browns and stuff were pretty typical of the way they painted the Victorians.
Right. I would not be surprised to see those colors on the house.
Can they take a black and white picture from, what's one of the early pictures we have of the house in the 20s, maybe in the teens?
We don't know
Can the
exactly what it's
computer
taken.
then by the black and white image, can they generate the actual colors?
They can guess, but you have to have a reference color typically. Like, here's something that's still on the house that we know the color of, so you set the color to that, and then try to reference all the different grays based off of that
Oh,
color.
okay, I didn't know if they had a way of.
But it's kind of a guess, but yeah.
It made me wonder though, you know, the stationery that Tom used with his thank you letter in, was it 39, 38, 39? How is the house trimmed in that picture?
It doesn't show the house, it shows the garden.
Oh, darn.
It's just the
Oh, the garden?
It's just the garden and the gate,
It
basically.
just shows the garden.
I was thinking it had a little bit of the house.
No, it's literally pointed out towards Third Avenue.
Oh,
I guess from the black and white, that you could tell if it was a dark or
see,
light.
that's a color picture,
Oh, that
that's
much.
why I was asking.
I remember a piece of the house when you did that.
Yeah.
The background, it's in the park, yeah. So you basically were looking at the garden
Okay,
from the
let's
south
look out.
and looking at front books and stuff, so. I did not bring that with me, but I did.
Well, that's this picture.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
You can pass it around. There's no, the house isn't in it.
Yeah, that's the house. Third.
I thought with computer technology, they could pull up the colors if they were, but I guess not.
Yeah,
That's an photographer, so.
Then he didn't take pictures of the house. Yeah.
Unless they took.
But see, what you're thinking is the house is a different,
Dark.
yeah,
That's
Red and green,
across
that's
there.
very safe.
still staying there.
Yeah, that's what she
That
says.
red is what you're saying.
Okay.
I was just sorry.
Yeah.
Thinking of all the pictures from they're all black and white. There's
It's not.
Oh,
That's
that's
pointed
yeah.
pointed towards Third.
That's, I thought it was.
So that is the darkest.
That is the darkest.
And that was paired up with the
And you
darkest
wanna
green,
find
so they
it.
went they're obviously highlighting certain colors on certain elements and lighter colors on other elements.
Right.
It does have a house, but it's not.
My vision.
Karen's, just so you know, there's a house there, but it's not the case.
It's not the house. What you're
Right.
seeing is the house is across Third, right? South
Yes.
Third.
So this is the carriage barn, the barge board bullseye that on the okay that looks like a little bullseye. And I'm seeing the same colors on the carriage house as the 1906 colors.
And it's got the green and everything too, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. We call that orange, we call that brown. Call it orange.
I call it orange.
Yeah, so that's like the orange scheme was on the carriage barn at the same time.
Mhm.
Weeks later.
Which, wow, they were being uniform.
Yes, they were.
You know, one place that I know hasn't been painted much as of nineteen
Well, especially
seventy-six.
when you're scheduling there, so
Gardeners.
you got 50 different
Shed
colors.
downstairs,
This
that's
here,
my office.
Yeah.
I don't think that been painted. You can see the
I was gonna say, I think that.
That would be original interior.
Yeah, so they might have just swapped some deals on it.
Right.
That's where
No, I
painting.
think that.
Basically, yeah, do they do the orange or scheme and then say they didn't like it and switch over to the green, but then they switched again pretty quickly after that as well, so. You can also have the painter knock it up and take one and be like, we like this one better, here's the reason why we like it better.
Exactly.
Here's a photograph, a black and white, at the waffle breakfast, but it's got a good example of the contrast of the trim. It's very definite contrast, dark and light, right there.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think you get that kind of contrast with the colors we've got here too, but it's
Yep.
can't quite say if that's
Which
the,
one it is.
yeah, which one it is, you know?
Yeah,
And so a computer can pull that out, what color
Yeah,
is that?
right. No,
Yeah,
just
black and white picture.
Yeah,
but
that's
yes.
what Phil said you have to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
every now and
could
then
be
you'll see old
here,
pictures
too.
that have been colorized.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
like,
they're kind of crazy.
sometimes they're
She's all these pink faces.
Yeah.
all my stuff.
All your stuff's funny.
I think the whole point of this is,
Connie, do you wanna pass it around, please?
Yeah, I'll pass it around that way, hold on to it
Because
both.
there's stuff in it. It's Connie stuff.
that's
All my stuff.
really, and it's got the covers too, which are very cool. I think
I didn't see
it's
any
important
major
that we do historic, but we also need to make sure that it's
yellow here.
They know the color of the
For
stone.
today,
Oh,
too.
use the stone
White,
as a
white.
Yeah, if the computer knows the color of the stone, which hasn't changed, couldn't they use that as a base color?
Right, that's what I
But
was
that would go back to the reds. Yeah.
Let's go that way.
Well, I mean, they would pick up the different colors from say.
Yeah.
Computers are smarter than us.
Sometimes. Programmers are smart.
Yeah,
computers
because if they,
will
yeah, they should get the color of the
running.
brick right, I would think everything else would be
Oh, yeah,
smart.
so-
But they can do that with color stuff,
No.
how they colorize movies now.
It's not super bright, especially if you're.
That doesn't sound real fancy.
That's what it's looking for, yeah.
But they have to
Oh, yeah. Colors.
It's because it's yellow and it's so we just show it for 9-1.
Right.
Oh, we should move this along.
So what are we talking about now?
What I asked Phil is, it, for the whites, obviously white can be varying in whites. What is the closest white that would be appropriate to kind of identify with? In the event that if we went, with greens and wanted a third color, that would be white, which white would that be?
So in other words, if we wanted to like do the bullseyes, do the trim in a dark green and do something different, well, although we could pull out the reds too, or the oranges.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but I just, since we've got those here and identified, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's so many different whites.
Yeah.
You know, and it really.
I just
for the
thought it
person
would
seeing
be
it from the
appropriate to
street,
find
they're not
out
gonna
a
know.
white, since we've got the
You know,
ten
take that
colors.
shade off. Right.
What would be an appropriate white if we wanted to include?
Use it as a trim color or a detail
So-
color, right?
Yeah, so this is the shade, or the next shade lighter of the white. So this is probably, the age MCL and describing this. This is probably about as close as I can get.
So what he's saying is based on
Like a cream.
what he found on
The front of
slides.
the carriage house
This
out
this
there
kind of
has
more
that
yellowy
creamy
white is what showed up, but
white.
that could be due to age.
What you're
Yes.
talking about.
And so he's recommending this one as a clean, that is cleaner white, more like what would have been used. So
Phil, can you, when you get home, can you put those on a sheet of paper and write down the actual colors alongside them so that when we get to the point where
Picture.
but that's not gonna help us mix paint. So you have the formulas for the paint colors, is that correct? To get
Yes.
those colors, can you just give us a report on that? We don't need to do it today.
I can just send because I took a picture of the
Sure.
box. I could just send you a picture of
Okay.
the box, and then that makes it easy for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I gave the colors orange, but I can certainly do the same for the green.
And the white, please.
And the white, yep.
And then would you pass that around so everybody can see it?
Kathy, when did you send his report?
The front.
I sent it as a link in one of the manager's reports, and I honestly don't know, but I can resend the link. Would you like me to do that?
Please.
I don't know what
Right,
it is.
because I'm
It was in the manager's report.
It was in a
I
report.
probably missed it then.
I missed it too. Okay.
Yeah, it was a link. Part. Easy access to all.
So that's fine, I'll just resend it.
So at this point, does anybody else have any more questions at this point in regards to the presentation? Who's here?
I have one question, did you get your check?
Very sure.
Good, thank you.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
Worked out pretty well.
It is.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. See, we've got the orange colors laid out here, a match at least to a commercial color, but I can also give you like the RGB code, the CMYK code, you can take all those things to a.
Well, the paint's gonna be Sherwin-Williams, probably.
Okay.
So if you could give us the codes for that, that would be amazing. And it would move us one step closer to having appropriate information for the
Yeah.
contractor.
I can find the closest currently available match, but if you'd like, I can always bring these samples by at some point too. You can just take them to Sherwin-Williams and say, make me a custom match that
Right.
completely matches
With
this.
this
Bring
regular
this
graph.
too.
Yeah.
Just make sure it matches, but.
Yes.
But I've had to do that on several occasions because people keep having a hard time finding
The right.
the right contractor to find like, the colors. They like output it in an envelope and send it to them and then send it
It's
back.
the shadow from the camera.
Oh,
That's the problem.
I
You
think
hold the
if we
camera
had
over
that
it and then you
right.
can't see the real colors.
And not bug you, that would be great. If we could get it done with just,
Yes.
do it in one shot, so. Kathy, do you think that would be the best option for you, is if you brought the chips, we took them and then we had a match right off the bat rather, because he's saying that it's going back and forth a lot on those colors?
Let's just discuss how we're gonna do it once we get to that point. We're certainly not there yet.
But I think
So you and I can powwow about how to handle it.
Sounds good.
And no matter what, they're not gonna be exact, right? We'll get close, but they're not gonna be
Well, they don't have the
exact
lead
enough.
in them, so there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and honestly, once they're on the house, nobody's
Yeah,
gonna know
nobody's
that,
gonna-
nobody's gonna bring that chip and go like this.
No, right.
Yeah.
They'll never tell them.
You never know.
He might.
You guys might.
I'm not going to.
I won't.
I think having matches would be most accurate.
That's the most accurate way to do it. I provide the closest commercial match in case people don't feel like going to the house and they just kind of want to get close, but.
And this is going from oldest to
To,
new.
Yeah,
yes.
orange is the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
And I think the bottom line is all about art in showing to historic Colorado that we're doing it. So. Okay,
Well, I'll have a discussion about it.
so we're gonna get
Yeah.
the time to do that, and not to be rude, but we're gonna move on to this, and thank you, Bill.
Thanks for having me out. So, any other questions? Feel free to No problem. And like I said, if you have any other questions that pop up as you go along, just let me know.
So we're going on to the managers, the house managers report, and Kathy, when you ready.
It was a busy month. We had 3 revenue events, which is an unusual number of revenue events for November. They all went quite well. It was, we did a bunch of weddings, 2 weddings and a birthday party. And I gotta shut this down so that he can have his flash drive back. So, it's done. It's done. So it was a busy month. We're also doing a lot of looky-loos for events for next year. Nothing really, it was just busy. nothing noteworthy. Club renewal, the only thing I didn't put in the report is club renewals are chugging along, so. And so far as I know, all of our current clubs are renewing.
Good.
So,
Oh, one last question. Do you want all the paint chip samples so that in the future, if you have somebody else that wants to research them, they're already very cased in resin, they're not going to go
yes,
anywhere.
please.
Here's the sample, remainder of the samples that haven't passed in resin, but they're all labeled, so it's kind of a mixed box. But there you go, there's all your
Thank you.
samples.
Thank you.
I guess the only other thing I mentioned is we're up to 16 revenue events for next year, which is probably the most I've ever had going into the new year. So I think that's, yeah, I did it again. I think that's very encouraging for next year.
People are feeling like they can really plan.
Well, and the other comment I would have is, for the most part, it seems like people are reducing the sizes of their weddings in particular, and going for more meaningful, smaller events, which is really good for us.
Yeah.
You know, so our sweet spot, I think, is 75 and under. And I also picked up another March wedding, another indoor wedding. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil, that was
Appreciate it.
great, so interesting.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So it's just chugging along.
Great.
Lots and lots of interest.
Is there, anything particular, did everybody have, first of all, did everybody have a chance to read the report? Do you have any questions? Okay.
I just want to know how that wedding went when it was such a cold day. Like
Yeah,
that
we did it all inside, and it was beautiful. Interestingly enough, it was probably one of the most meaningful vow exchanges I've ever seen.
Wow.
They were so in love and so sincere, and they wrote beautiful vows. She actually has a background in creative writing, and their vows were gorgeous. So we moved it. In fact, it was kind of funny. Mom walked in the door and she looked at them and she said, "I hope we're doing this all inside." So we did it all inside.
Well, I thought about that all day long, thinking, they're freezing.
No, we did it right there where the screen's at.
Good. Oh, that's sweet, that's nice.
So it was lovely.
Great.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
So the PEO chapter JH party that's listed here, that looks nice. You have it listed out to the side as a club?
They are a club. They're not a house club.
They're not a house club, okay. And then the Domino group, first, is that a new or returning?
It's the same people on a different day with different members. So the core, the 2 or 3 members who formed that club wanted to do it twice a month, but not everybody is signing up for both dates. So I'm treating it like 2 different clubs, because it's going to be different people on different days.
Okay.
I have to ask, what do they do?
Returning, but a different membership.
Okay,
Yeah.
returning but different group of, okay.
Yeah.
Do they
So
play
it's an
dominoes?
expansion / new club.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's good though.
And then the other new club is the Torca Book Club, and they're new.
What does that acronym stand for?
It's the Corvette Club. The Domino group came from the Corvette Club too.
Okay, now back to the domino group. What do they do? Play dominoes?
They just play dominoes.
Oh,
Mexican train?
Yeah, Mexican train dominoes.
Mexican train,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fun.
Mexican train or
Mexican train.
Texas 42.
Oh, I didn't know they were good. I always played 15. You know, you gotta
Texas Train is fun.
Yeah, they have a really good time.
So how many members are in each of those new returning groups? So you've got the Domino group that's,
The Domino group has a membership of about 10. At the moment, I don't know exactly what the second group's going to be because they're still forming and paying dues. So I don't have, it's 7 or 8. And the Torca Book Club is about 8.
Nice.
They're both fairly small, but they're nice sized clubs for us. And Torca Book Club is meeting on Thursday for the rest of the year, but they're going to start meeting on Tuesdays in 2023.
and then, I know they have their club activities. But do they have any philanthropic interest or community
I don't ask those
support?
questions.
Community benefit support? And then for the registration for San Open House, how many reservations were there? And how many were no-show? And
I can tally that up, but I haven't done it yet. We had 232 people come, and we had a few no-shows, but it wasn't very big. I need to talk to Sam about how she marked up the sheets, so I haven't had a chance to do that.
I think it's neat though that we received $185 in donations
It
just
is.
that evening.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And we had one little girl try to pluck a $5 bill out and take it home.
She
She was kind of stepping out of the slot, and she reached up and she went like this, and she was. She was
Oh,
put it in her pocket.
And I'm like, oh.
It was
ask
pretty
about
funny.
that when we take a tally. We had the usual Santa that we normally have here.
We had
Yes.
Santa Pete.
We had the original that we had him at our church on Sunday.
Mhm.
But we also had like 150 kids sign up, and then after that, they got to go and shop for their siblings and parents, and then they went to a wrapping
nice.
room.
that's
Then they went to, I mean, they went,
That's
yeah,
cool.
they had it so organized, it was amazing.
That's
But
great.
he was doing good, you know.
He's doing much smaller events.
Yeah, he's happy, because he only had to walk in the door and put his throne there and,
Okay, I want to ask, so do either of those clubs have historic significance? I don't know if you know that or not.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? No.
I mean, they're
You
based
haven't
around the
asked
Corvette Club.
them?
No, so probably.
Probably not.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
it is,
That's
they're,
right.
they're
Yeah.
afraid all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when are the interviews scheduled for the grant?
The interviews have been completed.
Oh, okay. And then, are we expecting to have Carrie and Ozzy come back to?
At the moment, there's nothing scheduled.
Can we arrange something since you've got interviews completed? What's the next step?
When there's a decision, if we want them to come back, we can certainly schedule that. We're not anticipating a decision till after the first of the year.
Decision regarding choice of,
Of contractor.
okay.
Oh, what is that? What are we on?
Well, I guess we're still in the manager's report, but we're also doing old business A,
Oh, okay.
apparently.
Okay.
Well, I'm just on the report, and from what I read, I just had those two questions, that's all. So, choice of contractors will occur after the beginning of the year.
After the first of the year. That's what we committed to because of holidays.
Okay. So, do we have any more questions or concerns in regards to the House Manager's report?
Just the report, or wait on the,
We're on the
Financials.
report. We're on the report itself. And financials, honestly, if we could, and the Callahan House annual report is a different,
That's a different subject.
so, and so, we're just on the report itself, the House Manager's report itself. Do we have any questions on the financials?
Looks good to me.
what are the, November numbers that are listed in the Twitter's open house at our block, it's on page 2.
I'm sorry, can you show me which page you're looking at?
The Callahan House event.
So you're looking at the event breakdown.
On page 2,
Right there.
yeah. What are those numbers, 4 and 10?
If you look at the next sheet, under special events, they're all listed. So we did a tour for a birthday party, we did a tour for a graduation, we did a tour for a 2023 welcome party, we did a tour for a choir practice.
So those 4 consisted of 10 attendees?
Yes. They're all listed.
Okay. started the holiday open house, December 14th, under open houses and tours. Can we add Eric Mason's historic walking tours as a separate line item? So
I'll do that for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my last question was just again coming back to our year-to-date revenue versus year-to-date expenses. We have revenues listed as 151 approximately, and some change, and then expenses at 128 and some change. And so that gives a balance of about $22,753.50. That is kind of the approximate amount that would be going into the Callahan House Fund at this time.
Yes, and actually the numbers are much more correct on this sheet, which shows that we're a little under $20,000. And honestly, that's gonna go down a little bit because this is a free paycheck month. So, my guess is the number is gonna be closer to $15,000 or $16,000. Thank you, it's been a good year.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
Okay. So, we've gone through the financials of the house manager's report. In my opinion, the house manager's report's been covered. Any other questions? Okay, I need a motion for accepting, the house manager's report.
I make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
All in favor? Okay, moving on to, old business. The, status of the grant, we've kind of covered a lot of the grant, issue with some of the questions, but, do you have any more information that you want to?
Nope, that's pretty much where we're at. The interviews are complete. We're meeting again to talk about scoring, and we probably won't make a decision until after the first of the year.
Okay, is there any way, because I know these people are very busy, is there any way that we could add them to our, I'm sorry, line fog, the Callahan House Board meeting point, if we could get them on the calendar, so these people know that we'd like to see them at some point.
Who's them?
Are you talking about Carrie and Ozzy?
Carrie and Ozzy, yes.
We'll add them when it's appropriate. I mean, when there's news, we'll figure out if it's appropriate to have them in the meeting.
Well, if a
So-
decision is going to occur in January,
Could
then
we,
it would be reasonable to have them either come to the January meeting if it's early enough in January, or come to the February meeting.
And that's fine. Let's just see how it chugs along and whether or not we have a decision. And if it seems like it's appropriate, you and I will discuss it and add them to the agenda.
okay. Moving on to the, we also discussed by going over, again, sorry, I apologize, I'm having a mind fog moment. Anybody else have any questions in regards to the grant? Okay, moving on to old business B, open houses. The Santa open house we discussed in the house manager's report, but I did want to comment quickly that I thought it was a wonderful event. I thought it was really handled quite well and lovely, and it was cold, but I think it went remarkably well, and I do like how it went. But I think for next year, we should take Ann's suggestion and look at putting it possibly in the auto house, and then having the house open here for additional views for a historic tour and decoration thing.
I really have a serious objection to putting it in the auto house, because if the weather is bad, we have no way to make a safe entrance to the auto house. And we don't have any way to know that until we're close. The driveway is like a slip and slide. So
Is it?
It is.
That
It
north
is.
side is bad. That north side is particularly
It's
bad.
really bad, and
It collects water in a really
Yeah, I really have an objection to putting it in the outhouse, and I'm sorry, I know that's been your dream. But I really do not wanna, I really don't wanna commit to that, and I think it's unsafe. And I think,
appreciate that.
and honestly, I think the coordination to get people from the house into Santa becomes way more difficult. I think having a separate open house for just decor is the way to go. And I'm perfectly okay with that.
Okay. I hear your concerns and I appreciate, the safety issue. Ideally, in a perfect world, we could just make it so there's no ice anywhere. But,
Nice try.
I don't know how to do that, so.
I mean, even if we don't have bad weather, if we've had bad weather, it's treacherous.
When it comes to a safety issue, people first,
Yeah,
so,
it's not a question to be asked.
okay. That being said,
But I do have to say that while in Kathy's report it addresses how kids enjoyed the Santa, I also enjoyed learning about the history of the house. I thought they were very receptive and very interested, and we would tie it in, JCPenney and where he got his start, and say, guess what? He came to Longmont. Guess what his first business was?
I think my
No, a
point
meat
was that,
market.
Yeah.
And did you know? And they just went, ooh, oh, that's interesting. And there were several of them that had really excellent questions.
my point was that, the way we've done it, now if we have extra open houses, that solves the problem, but basically the Santa was the only, open house we'd have in December, and the only people that got to come were families with kids. We had, we didn't let other people, so that's why I don't put them over there and some over here. But I can see your point.
Yeah. The other thing I think is it was really smooth. People almost didn't have to wait. In fact, some people walked in the door and walked straight up to Santa. The parents were so appreciative.
Yeah.
And that's why we got so many donations, is because
They were
it
frustrated.
wasn't the usual stand in line for 2 hours to see Santa for 10 seconds.
Right.
And Pete did an amazing job again.
oh,
So,
he
so
was
sweet.
phenomenal, and the one kid that showed up with a notebook of written questions, oh my gosh, he was just
it was
right
so funny.
on point, and I'm just like, boy.
There were a couple times I had to walk out of the room so we could laugh.
And he even got the teenagers to smile and be part of it.
And take a picture.
And it was really, again, it was a fabulous event. I just want to comment on how nicely done it was. It was really well done.
And that's in part why I was asking about how many were registered. Did we have open blocks? Did we have no shows? Because in your report it says we could have taken a few more on, and that's a great idea.
Well, I will certainly analyze that. I need to talk to Sam about the list. And it looked to me like we had a few no-shows, but what it looked like to me was people found out about the open house tonight and bailed. Because we had a lot of single adults not show up. So that, and a lot is not a lot, but we had several, maybe 10, single adults just not show up. And they may have just said, oh, I'll just go on the 14th. But, so we only had 1 or 2 families that didn't show.
Okay, that's helpful to know.
In the broad scheme of things, I still think we did a good range of numbers, and it wasn't 600.
We did more than last year.
So
And it was much smoother.
Yeah, it was very smooth.
Yeah.
It went very smoothly. I think this year's was enjoyable.
Well, and Sam, it looked to me like Sam kept track of when people came in, so they got to come up in the order that they came in the door.
Yeah.
So I
She
think
did that.
that was amazing.
She'd come around and
Yeah.
ask for a certain family.
So I think it went really well.
732 at Holiday Lights.
Yeah, well,
Right.
732 kids.
so
Santa Claus.
Wow.
We
That's
were
their Santa.
Yeah.
we were there
Same
with our
Santa.
puppies
Yes.
Santa.
That's
and
their
watching it
Santa event.
and trying to, it was packed. So
Those lines were very, very long.
we've got about 20 minutes.
okay,
25
guys,
minutes.
I will try to move it along as fast as I can. Okay, let's go right on to the house manager's pictures update. Where are we ordering the
It's
thing?
ordered.
Oh, cool.
It's not here yet, but it's ordered.
Okay, then that's really all we have to say at this moment. Sue Ellen, I hate to put you
It's
on
done?
It's done, you did, wait,
It's done, it's completed, and the files have been shared with Kathy. And that was the template with the restored header that was passed around.
Yeah, and I just shared it
And
with
with the
Carrie.
red borders for
I'll
both
get it to you.
letterhead and things. So it's
thank you.
Yep.
Well, okay, moving right along,
Yes,
guys, we're
moving
just
right along.
cruising. Scrapbook.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Karen and I met on Monday and got a lot done. Got the initial
Karen
one
Cruz.
started.
Karen Cruz.
Karen Cruz, I'm sorry. Thank you. And looked at some past scrapbooks that were still missing pieces, so I went through and just from the 75th anniversary ice cream social that we did in 13, we hadn't put any of the pictures in, and so I just downloaded a bunch of pictures last night.
I think I have pictures too.
Good. Well,
So,
that would be neat.
just so you
I
know.
just, just as a sampling, because we, had the automobile and barbershoppers and the ice cream, the council and mayor that were serving the ice cream, so I'll add those to those pictures there. And then we started in on, I had to buy a new book because my book was so old that I was gonna donate that they don't even make the pages anymore. And so I was like, okay, we're starting over again. So I got a really pretty pink that went with that Callahan House, and we got pages, put in and kind of doodads and things, and left some blank spaces for things, but
You still gonna do it?
starting up, yes, I got that printed out, and I'll get that.
And I do have a question in regards to the scrapbook.
Mhm.
So do you have pictures like of us decorating the tree and stuff last year?
We
Yeah,
haven't
I've
been
got some.
taking
I took
pictures. Did you take some?
I
Those
sent
are the
those.
kind of things that would be great to add.
I think I sent them to everybody in an email last year.
Yeah, you did.
Did you?
But I can send it again.
Yeah, I can look on my email.
Yeah, if you have it all again, but otherwise I
Yeah, I'll
have it.
save all of that.
So if anybody has pictures or anything that they could share and share with Connie, that would be amazing.
Well, Connie's leading.
Rotating
I'll
on.
tell you
Yeah,
what,
so,
I'll give you a little heads up, if you don't mind sharing them with me, I would love that. I'm hoping
She's
that I'd like to kind of pick up
very
where Connie
involved.
left off. And go with it. Do you want to let everyone take a look at that, or a little bit later?
Yeah, we can pass it
Yeah, 'cause we got
around, while we have
Put
our
that together.
part of time.
Okay, well, in between everything, maybe we can look at that in between, our
That's enough.
so, and can I see a show of hands of who still has scrapbooks?
I have them all.
You have them all. I would really love for them to come back to the house at some point
I
soon.
know.
I think.
And I do think that they should also. Right now, they are safe. I have a fire safe that they are in.
Okay.
So
I just
They're
wanted to make
safer
sure they
there
weren't
than they are
scattered
here.
all over.
No.
Yeah,
I have them all. They are safe, and I plan to pick up where she left off,
perfect.
get everything done, get these.
I still have some stuff in the scrapbook box, so just remind me and I'll get them to you. Paper clippings or, newspapers and stuff.
Wonderful,
Right.
thank you, that's exactly what I was talking about.
And I have lots of pictures, so if there's something specific that you'd like picture, like the 75th anniversary, I have pictures. Because we actually had a photographer that day.
Wonderful, so that's
So
exactly.
you want me to get those to you?
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
I'll just put them on a flash drive.
Okay, moving on. Connie, did you hear, I'm not trying to shorten this, but I know we're on a time thing. Is there anything else you wanted to add? No, okay. Okay, Callahan House Advisory Board Annual Report to the City. We are working on that still. What's here is still a rough draft. And
It's pretty close to done.
yeah, it's just, but it's still a rough draft, and so this isn't ready to be voted on by the board.
So we need to probably plan.
I'm not sure what else you want to do to it.
I just want, first of all, I think we should meet and talk about you know, what exactly we want to add into it, make sure that we've got the, our mission statement, just simple cleaning up. I think basically.
Well, I did
Final
all the
numbers
draft,
for
and-
2022.
Yeah, and I gave it all to Kathy, so she's been through it to refine it and make sure things were accurate to what she knows about the house.
Which
So
is-
that really the only thing we don't have are, like you said, the year-end
Right, and I didn't,
financial information.
it wasn't
but-
clear to me what you wanted for the financial year end.
Yeah,
Well, in past reports, it's been earned rental revenue, and so I made a little note there.
Yeah, that's, we
But
discussed that.
then there are dates that I would suggest be, or years in particular, that I would suggest be included. I went through and looking through past annual reports and just taking note of, okay, these are things that they paid attention to that we too need to be consistent with.
And
And I made those notes, but I think that we do need to have yet another meeting that would include everyone who's interested, to be able to bring with them any additions or changes or whatever.
one of the big ones that I saw is missing was the clubs.
Yeah, the ladies club,
Yeah,
listed in
and they
events.
weren't- yeah.
So again, there's just simple little things that just a
Yeah.
cleaning,
Yeah, cleaning up.
finalizing.
Well, and the number I mean, we can certainly put rental revenue in there, but I don't think that number really adequately reflects anything because there's also matching expenses that go with that. So we could put rental revenue, but I also think the dollars added to the fund might be a good,
I think that's a good additional line, because I think that helps, separate
right.
the two.
You do rental profit instead of revenue?
Well, the rental profit would be the amount we're adding to the,
Yeah, so that would be the line, but,
Yeah.
and the other thing is, I wanna make sure that we're splitting out, that we're doing, the upkeep and that type is separate from historic preservation. Because we need to make sure there's a clear definition that there's the
Regular maintenance is one thing, like
Yeah.
year to year. Restoration and preservation is indeed a whole separate category. So.
well, I mean, most of the restoration and preservation we're doing is the grant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
So
all next year,
honestly, I
so
mean,
it's
we
not-
have done
Right.
some stuff in the past, but in general, those numbers aren't gonna be broken apart very cleanly.
No.
And oh, by the way, the dollars that facilities spend on the house, we don't have any insight into at all.
No.
So, none. None.
Okay, but that's good to just,
It's still good to separate the two.
I think we should just keep the grant in a separate bucket, and then if we have major projects that we take on that are more in the arena of preservation and restoration.
Sorry, I just don't know if you wanted me to be part of this or you want me to be downstairs. I got here a little bit early, but.
Downstairs is fine.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah,
So
thanks,
make sure
Betsy.
I'm supposed to be where I'm supposed to be.
I'm Betsy. I'll introduce you when we get downstairs.
Okay.
I do think we need to include student volunteer hours. That's something that's been in past reports.
I think this
Also
is,
think
this is
I don't think
something,
we have very much to show except for the
Yeah, I just put
Christmas
things
stuff.
on
We don't have
in
anything
minutes.
this year.
We had nothing this year.
Previously, we would have the student volunteer hours at the
Yeah.
open houses.
but
But
because,
we didn't have anything this year.
but,
no,
not this year, but we're
We're certainly not, I'm not tracking that.
No, I know you're not. But I happen to know about it, so.
So here's the deal. I think we can discuss this at a meeting that we're setting up to finalize these things.
Yes.
And then that in particular doesn't need to be discussed at this point, and then we can bring it back in front of the board to have our approval of this vote, okay?
Sounds good.
All right,
Meeting occurred.
I'm hoping that we can do it, it is the holidays, guys, so I don't know how exactly we're gonna work this.
Can it go into January because we are at the end of the year? And technically, it is a.
Most
a
business
capture
reports
of
on the
all.
previous year happened the following year anyways.
Right.
So I think we can go into January, and that was the original intent anyway. So, truthfully, maybe we can meet before the next board meeting. Ladies, do you wanna look at your calendars and figure out exactly how we're doing this or not? I mean, the bottom line is, we're gonna have a new board in January 1st, so, correct? Correct. Okay, so, we'll have to set up a date, I guess, to work on that. Do you think it's reasonable to do before the next meeting, or should we do it after?
I think we should do it after.
Okay.
It's so squeezy
If you
time
do it
wise.
right after, then you give it a little bit of time to get the final December. I mean, we don't have the true final December stuff citywide till like May or
Right.
June, but
Yeah, I understand.
so we can get her pretty solid.
Yeah.
If we just get,
Okay.
so right after that, maybe right after that.
So maybe we wait until, to set the date, until that comes.
Yeah, we won't have good December numbers until the middle of January.
Yeah,
Because until the P cards go final,
yeah.
we don't have good numbers.
And I do know that because Connie, myself, and Karen have been working on this, I think, I understand you're stepping off the board, but we'll still need your, okay, your approval of it, because you know, that you're helping right.
Actually, only the chairperson and the house manager signed the
Is on.
report.
Right.
So
She's welcome to.
We'll send it to
You're
you,
welcome to
Connie.
join us if you want.
That's fine, you
Y'all
follow up with me,
No
but,
problem.
yeah.
All right. Thank you for that statement. Okay, moving right along to, the board recruitment status.
We're just waiting. The council interviewed all the candidates on December 10th, which was last Saturday, and we have not heard anything.
Okay, all right, okay, under new business, and we have shifted the, holiday open house on the 14th to new business. So,
You know, for the Christmas packet, maybe that's a January item. Should we move that to the January?
We can certainly
agenda?
move it to January as long as everybody understands it's gonna be like short notice. We're gonna sit there and on the 11th of January, pick a January date to do it. If you're okay with that, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I think that's a good decision, and then that's
Well, I have to take the free day.
Yes, you'll need to come and join us
Yeah.
so you can get your beautiful.
You left your boxes here, or did you not? So we could pack it for you too. So I'll reach out to you and we'll figure it out, because it doesn't, it would be nice if it was on the same day, because we'd love to see you, but it doesn't have to be.
So we've already handled the Christmas, decor packet, but I do wanna move back onto the holiday open house on the 14th. Because that is new business, and I wanna make sure that, because clarification, that it was brought up at the, decorating thing, that the board wasn't aware of that. Yet.
We just added it because of all of the requests to see the holiday decor. And honestly, your presence tonight is welcome, but it's not mandatory, because it's just an opportunity for people to walk through and see the trees.
And I think it's great, I am really happy about it, but obviously it was added a long time ago because it made the,
I added it after the November meeting.
So it's pretty.
but didn't it make the,
It went to.
Because
print.
Sue Ellen
It went to print
did
magazines.
heroic things for us.
okay, so I thought that printing, when, from speaking in the past, that we had to have anything into you by February for that, to make that catalog.
No, there's a deadline for every catalog.
It was the end of October. I asked for all the information. So like I can handle quick things. I can be nimble with something very small like this. And because I've been in the board meetings and aware of the passion to have people available to it, we had that window to add it in. And so I erred in, I'm sorry if I overstepped.
No, I think it's a great overstep, it's just, I wanna make sure, because it was very clearly clearly to us that we are not supposed to be discussing anything
This is
outside
a
the
house
board.
event. I set it up as a house
House
event,
event.
not a board event.
Okay, that's,
So that's the difference. I set it up as a house event. The house staff committed to do it.
okay.
And you guys are invited if you'd like to be here, but it's not necessarily a board function.
Thank you, Kathy, I appreciate that. Just for the clarification for one. Okay. On to, other business. On to other business. Does anybody have any other business that we need to discuss at this point? That wasn't brought up. Okay, moving on to future agenda items. Open houses in January, we'll be discussing in January, club affair in January. I also think that we, should put on that the, introduction of new board members and election of chair people for future agenda.
That'll be on the agenda for January.
I just wanna make sure it's on
Yeah.
the
It
agenda.
will be. And the posting, because where we're gonna post.
Okay,
So all the normal January things will be on the January agenda.
thank you. That's basically, does anybody else have anything else that should be on the January agenda?
I think we should be reviewing future house restoration and preservation projects just to be in the know about. If there's something that is more urgent than we anticipated it to be.
I think we should do that in February. I think with new members, that would be a good thing for February.
So can we list it as a February agenda item to be added?
We also need to include scheduling a working session for the club selection criteria for adding new clubs.
But we
And
can,
we can do this, in the January meeting, we can schedule the working session for later.
with the new board members.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. What does anybody else think? Do you think that's a good idea?
Works for me.
Just the other thing is that you're entering into a time with a lot of work at the house.
Yes.
And that if time became a commodity that was somewhat limited, this criteria thing could really
Get pushed back.
quite a bit.
I agree.
Because to add a club to then stop their ability to attend because of the construction project.
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't disagree with that, Swellen. I think it's all about setting up the criteria. This has nothing to do with adding the clubs yet or putting that on, because I think, personally, I think there's a clear understanding on my part that, yeah, we've got all this restoration and stuff coming up, but we can certainly work on just getting our criteria set before we invite people.
It also complicates Club Affair, which is on the January schedule, because we're gonna go back to talking about Club Affair again. So it's kind of
Part and parcel.
Yes, and so both are kind of, it's appropriate to bring them up in January and then start to figure out how to
Let's
go
just
forward
talk
with working through them.
I don't think it'd be a good thing to introduce new board members or whatever to the conversation, but, depending on how that works. So, everybody's getting their coats and purses on, and, I don't know if it's just got chilly, but we're packing up and ready to go.
Well, we're doing well, it's 11:11, is there anything else we want to discuss?
So how many people brought ornaments for the exchange? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Apologies.
That's quite.
And I don't know about
But
Jacqueline.
you're so much
Betsy.
fun to watch when you open it.
Yeah.
Can't you?
You're like,
Okay.
hey, that one slipped right by him.
Right the couple days right
All right.
Okay. All right, so, I just need a,
If we have no other business, it's 11:12 and we're adjourned.
okay. All in, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,